And how did you know when you met him that he was really the one?
I knew his character, and I think I have to say he knew a little bit stronger than I did, because he's the one who just more or less that committed to it.
Okay, so he was more
I was
into it.
overwhelmed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Starstruck with Sarah Pachter, brought to you by Aish. My name is Sarah Pachter, and today we have an amazing guest, a very wise woman who I'm excited to bring on. Her name is Leona Fallas, and she has been married for 70 years. Yes, you heard me right, 70, not 17 years. Happily married, and we're so excited to have her on the show because she's going to share with us some of her wisdom about marriage and life in general. Welcome, Leona.
Thank you, my love. Thank you, my friend.
We are so excited to have you on the show. Happy anniversary. I heard you just celebrated your 70th wedding anniversary.
Yes, a very good blessing.
Well,
Thank you.
Congratulations. We actually have a surprise for you here on the show. We have a beautiful bouquet of flowers, compliments of the Lark Los Angeles Floral and Design. This is for you.
Thank you.
As well as a gift card to a local kosher restaurant, Trattoria Natalie, also compliments of them. And we at Aish just wanted to really recognize this moment and this momentous occasion. So happy anniversary. Enjoy your time. We're so excited.
I'm very grateful for both and for this.
Oh, it's right back at you.
And
Right back
for,
at you.
And for you as my friend. Thank you.
Of course. So first of all, do you remember when we first met?
I do.
I remember we were working out in the Pilates studio. Yes, everybody, Leona works out. We were working out at Pilates, and I remember I was walking out of the studio. It was a Friday morning in sort of a rush. I'm out the door. Do you remember? It was like cold outside. I'm almost out the door, and I overheard you say something to the instructor. I overheard you say, "This weekend is my 67th wedding anniversary." Oh, yes. And I spun around. I mean, I marched right over to you. I remember part of me was like, leave this lady alone. And the other part of me just had to know your wisdom. And I asked you for an interview. And you so, kindly obliged. We wrote an article about you. It's on Aish.com called Advice from a Woman Married 67 Years. And we've been friends ever since. We speak before Shabbat every week.
True.
We've gone out to dinner even. So I'm grateful for your friendship.
I'm equally grateful for yours. And thank you for reminding me, because I don't remember the exact words, but I'm a very lucky lady. Thank you.
That's how I feel. But let's get started. I guess we should start, from the beginning. How did you and your husband meet, and how did you know he was the one?
My husband actually came into my life when I was 15 years old. He knew my brother, and he was in the Army. He lived in New York, and he was on a furlough, but he didn't have enough time or money to get home to his family. He remembered my brother. They contacted each other, and they hung for the weekend. That was 3 years later. I went to graduation to New Jersey to a gift from my uncle, my mother's brother from Washington. He wanted me to meet his son. And in traveling and in being with the community in New Jersey, I met my husband, who I remembered knowing from Los Angeles. I was out with my cousin, he was out with the date, and by the end of the evening, we just were communicating with each other, chatting, talking, and short time after, it was a lot of summer dates in the summer, and I went back to California. He was working in Pittsburgh at the time. We spoke on the phone. There wasn't like today's with the phones. It was expensive, so we spoke seldom. We wrote letters back and forth. The end of the holiday, New Year's, he came to visit in L.A. to supposedly get engaged. My Parents were very pleased. I had an aunt visiting from New York. She said it does not make sense to get engaged, that he should go home to Pittsburgh and she should stay here. Let them get married and go back together. 10 days later, that's what we did.
Oh my goodness. So you got married in 10 days after engagement.
My mother, whirlwind, great lady, yes.
Wow. Wow. That is wild. Oh my goodness. And how did you know when you met him that he was really the one?
I knew his character, and I think I have to say he knew a little bit stronger than I did, because he's the one who just more or less that committed to it.
Okay, so he was more
I was
into it.
overwhelmed. I was 18
Right.
and a youngish 18.
Right, right. Wow. But you knew he was the one because of his character.
Yes.
What specifically?
Honest, dedicated, wanting good things for a family, and a good businessman, and from a good family.
So he was an all-around catch, basically. He had all the qualities in a good guy.
Yes, yes.
And if you were, talking to someone who is single and looking to get married and they don't really know what to look for in a guy, what are some of the things you would tell them to really be looking for so that they can set themselves up for a successful marriage?
That he's courteous, that he's considerate, that he sees you the same way he sees himself. He's not selfish. And he has a circle of friends who admire him. And he's got good characteristics. If he's hopefully a little religious and very honest and likes you.
Okay, that's important.
Admires you and pays
Yeah.
attention to you.
You say a little religious. Were you religious at the time?
I was religious but not observant.
Okay.
I was not Shomer Shabbat.
Okay. And I loved what you said. He sees in you what he sees in himself. Is that what you said? What exactly did you say? I loved that.
He sees in you someone that he wants to spend his life with.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that answer. So, talking about culture today and society today, when you're speaking to people that they might be afraid to commit to marriage, or they maybe don't see the point of marriage or the benefits of marriage, what would you tell someone and say, hey, this is what's so great about marriage. This is what I love about marriage. Here are the benefits. What would you say to someone who's kind of on the fence about marriage?
What is life all about if not being committed to a contract with somebody? You're going to go along and make friends and new friends, or increase your circle of friends. Aren't you actually looking for someone to commit yourself to make your life complete?
I love that answer. I love that. That's so beautiful, and it's so true. So thank you. If I could share for me what I think one of the benefits of marriage is, feeling like you can finally take the mask off. You can finally just be yourself and be loved and accepted for exactly who you are. The good, the bad, and the ugly. For me, I think that's a huge joy of marriage, because it's such a freeing feeling to finally just be yourself and be loved. But speaking of, being accepted by the good, the bad, and the ugly, let's talk about some of the uglier parts, or the challenging parts of marriage. What do you think the real challenges of marriage are really all about? And maybe even a challenging moment in your marriage that you overcame?
Having patience with maybe someone who's not totally agreeing with you.
Okay.
Seeing his point of view, giving him credit for his point of view, and enlarging your point of view also. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that Joe has taught me. He's increased my capacity to know and to look and to have patience.
Can you give an example of it?
In meeting new people, just being more open-minded and learning from their experience. That's a big one.
So you'd say one of the challenges of marriage is becoming more patient. Are there any other big ones that can create a challenge or obstacles or anything of that nature?
I'm sure on a daily basis, maybe you come head to head with it, where maybe finance, maybe when you're blessed with a family, having enough time to handle your responsibilities and your outside influences, your family, if you have parents, thank God, and siblings, if God bless, and the fortunate things in life, also the unfortunate things in life. If you're driving and you, God forbid, get a ticket and you get nervous, or you're confronted with something that you don't think you have the capacity to take care of, and calm down, ask advice, accept the advice, have confidence.
Okay. Would you say that, because I know for me, one of the more challenging aspects of marriage is in any given day, it's giving up what you need or you want in the moment for what someone else needs and wants in the moment. Would you agree with that statement?
I very strongly agree with that statement.
Okay, and of course there's always biting your tongue, which is hard for everyone. But speaking of which, biting your tongue, I know one of your big pieces of advice is go to bed angry. The whole world says, don't go to bed angry, and Leona Fallas says, go to bed angry. Tell us about that. Why do you feel that so strongly?
It's, you can't turn the switch on and off. Even if you think you're healing the situation, have respect for the situation. You have very strong feelings, and you don't have to give up your feelings, because it's my husband, and I have to agree with what he's thinking or feeling. If it's important enough, it'll be there tomorrow.
I love that line. That's, I think, one of my, I think about that line that you told me in that original interview all the time. All the time. It's like in my head, and it's such a good one, because half the time we forget about it when we wake up in the morning, and maybe it wasn't all that important to begin with to discuss, or maybe it is important, but at least you can talk about it in a calmer tone.
I agree. I'm very lucky to have listened to my own advice.
Okay, great. I know that marriage expert John Gottman always says that everybody fights, right? There's no marriage that does not have fighting from time to time. But how do you make it so that when you fight, it doesn't break you, right? And it almost builds you, or I guess what I would call fighting clean. How would you define fighting clean?
Fighting clean, I think, is having respect for who you're marrying, and calm down. Don't be so important to win this minute. Talk to your nature and wait it out.
Okay, I love that. Now, over the decades, I think you can probably attest to this, that things have really changed drastically, not only in society, but also within marriage. What do you think are some of the positive changes and some of the negative changes within marriage particularly?
Within marriage, giving a lot of respect to your spouse and credit to your spouse. He's out there in a tough world making a living for you as his wife, and then thank God for his family, his children, and creating a community. These things have been very important to my husband and to myself also.
I guess what I would ask you is, what advice would you give to those who are struggling in their marriage to find happiness?
I would think back down a little bit.
What do you mean?
Don't anticipate that they're realizing all your feelings and desires. Look at it from, close your eyes for a few minutes and say, He's not seeing things the way I'm seeing things. So maybe I should try seeing from his point of view, or breathe in and breathe out. It'll get taken care of. I love this guy, and this guy loves me.
That's beautiful. I appreciate that. So you're saying calm down, see the other perspective, know that deep down you love each other and that you will work it out.
Yes.
Okay.
You have a very big investment. Protect your own investment. Have credit for your own point of view, and know that he's basically there, and he's got pressures, and he may not have as enough patience as you do at the moment.
Right. You know, I think what you said about protecting your investment is the other part that is my favorite part of what you say, is that you have an investment and you have to protect it, and that investment will eventually pay dividends. And I just loved it because it's such a great analogy for what we're putting into our marriages and then what eventually we hopefully get out of them as well.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you on a more positive note. We were talking about a lot of the challenges, but what was one of your happiest memories within marriage, and what was maybe one of your most proud moments? You know, your happiest, proudest moment.
Of course, having family, and of course, the respect. My husband left his family to come to a new place, and the respect that he showed my parents, and the acceptance that he showed my brothers and my sister. That's a way of complimenting me and his world and his community. He didn't become like an individual and have any kind of selfishness. He wanted to have friends. He wanted to live a good life. He wanted to work hard. We were in no good financial situation when we first got married. I lived with my parents. We had my first child when we were in my parents' home. And then we had a rented home. And then we looked and we bought our first permanent home. So don't be afraid of having little and aspiring to make it grow.
Wow, and eventually you can make it grow. I know that you had mentioned that you and your husband helped to start the Maimonides School here in LA, which is quite an accomplishment that I'm sure you were very proud of. But speaking of Maimonides, I just want to read about it. The school Maimonides was named after Maimonides, which was a 12th century rabbi who was a famous writer and thinker who wrote extensively about Jewish philosophy and law. And he has this beautiful idea about marriage. He says, a husband should honor his wife more than himself and love her as himself. And a wife should honor her husband tremendously, treating him like a king. So I love that quote because it's really very much in line with what you've been talking about with honor and respect. Can you give us some examples of this in your own marriage, where he honored you more than himself and you treated him like a king?
Just day to day. You know that when you get up in the morning, your first thing is either your children or your husband, not yourself. And yes, we do have the school now, which is Maimonides. It started out as an offshoot of the synagogue, Sephardic Hebrew Academy. And because it didn't want to be labeled Sephardic, it wanted to be open to the Jewish community, the change of the name. And it happened because he didn't want only the synagogue would die out. If people didn't have further education or commitment to further education, synagogues open and synagogues get lost in the community. So that was a very, very special, hard-working, but important part of our life.
And that must have brought you tremendous, tremendous pride and joy. And something else that you mentioned in the past about feeling very proud is when you see your children doing beautiful things. And when you first said this a while ago, I thought, wait a minute, isn't that more of a parenting pride moment? But as I thought about it, I realized, when you see your child doing something incredible, then you get to you and your husband look at each other and say, wow, like we created that,
did something good.
Right?
We did something right.
I loved how you talked about that in terms of being proud and accomplished within your marriage. Is parenting is also a piece of that as well. So, I know we were just talking about some positive things, but I just was brought back to a story that you once told me, how you were driving on the highway over to Palm Springs. Are you willing to share that with everybody today?
I don't remember it, but yes, I'd be more than happy to.
So do you remember where you were driving down towards Palm Springs feeling really frustrated?
Oh.
Yes, that one. If you're not willing to share, we don't have to.
No, fine. Very good.
I love it.
There's moments and moments.
Thank you.
And I said, you're wrong. You're not thinking straight. Where are you running away from? And turn around and go home.
So you were off. You were in the car, off to Palm Springs, ready to leave, and you stopped yourself.
Yes, because it was not the right thing to do.
Wow.
You don't run away from something. You stay into the situation and either stay unhappy from it and let it dissolve itself, or handle it.
But you know what I love about you is that you're willing to share that, because look, someone who's been married 70 years, there's bound to have been tension at some point in the marriage. It's so reassuring to every listener to hear that you also had your ups and downs. Nothing is perfect in life. We all have things that we're working on and working through. And I just think it's so brave of you to share that. And it really can give a lot of strength to anyone who might be struggling to know that, you're going to have times where you want to walk away. But if you stick with it, your investment's going to bring the return and great things are going to happen. So I think that's fantastic that you were willing to share that. Thank you.
You're an admirable friend. I'm so glad and so lucky to be connected with you. I must tell you that.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think what everyone wants to know is, what are the top 3 ingredients? If you had to boil it down to 3 things that make a marriage successful, what would you label them? What are the 3 top items that make a marriage happy, successful, and long-lasting?
Patience, recognizing who your mate is. Mm-hmm. In my situation, he's a pretty super fella. Super fella. And the third, good fortune, blessings from Hashem.
So would you say it would be, gratitude and expressing gratitude for your spouse? Yes. and gratitude to God for the blessings?
Exactly.
I love that you talk about gratitude, because that's a huge thing in my own life that I practice with my spouse and my children. But I do, yeah, and it's life-changing. I think if you were to boil everything down, one of the best tips for marriage is to practice gratitude with your spouse. Specific, not just, oh, honey, you're amazing, thank you, but specific moments of, what are you doing that I love so much? Let me tell you, let me tell you when you take out the garbage before it's too full, how much I appreciate that, and even the little nitty gritty, and which you touched upon as well. So I remember also you once said that you don't want to be in a bad mood, right? You don't want to be negative Nelly. And I love that you said that, because your face is public property, and when you have a negative face, your husband absorbs that, and same with him, and you absorb each other's negativity. And I do believe that you live that. You practice what you preach, because every time I see you, you're always happy. You've always got a smile on your face. You're chipper. I remember when I was expecting my 5th child, it was during COVID. I was breaking down and totally nauseous, and all the time did not let up. And I would call you. We would call each other once a week before Shabbat or whatever. And you always lifted my spirits. Whatever it was you said, I don't even know what you said. Your happiness and your positivity exuded through the phone. And so I want to know what your tips are for maintaining that positive face for your spouse. And of course, no one's perfect. And of course, no one's happy all the time. So I'm not saying you're not a human, but what are those tips?
The tips are, you're a prime example. because you always carry your benefits, your in a bag. You're always admiring of your children, and you tell me on the phone what, and you shared a magnificent story, God bless him, about your son and a friend in his class, and what he did single-handedly to incorporate and get the help and create a new life for a friend who needed that help. And you do that with your children. I think I'm more benefiting from your friendship than you are from mine, because by the time you make the call with the last number, you already put yourself in a better place. I'm talking to her, and she's going to hear me happy. And I don't think I've ever heard you. You may be suffering from not feeling super, but your outside doesn't show your inside. And that's very important.
Okay, I appreciate your generous words, but this isn't about me. I want to know you. What are your tips for staying positive?
That maybe the outside world doesn't have to see or hear a lot of negative and nonsense. They don't want to see someone or spend a few minutes of their day and their time with someone who's not going to at least put a smile on their face. I'm happy to see you. You're making me happy because I am seeing you. I'm not in my own mood. You're taking me out of my place, and you're making me, giving me a person to share something with. And I'm not going to share negative.
I love that answer. It's such a great one. And I just think this is a little awkward for me to bring up, but I'm going to do it anyways, which is, there's, of course, when you've been married to someone for 70 years, you've got to be able to get along and enjoy each other's company and live under one roof together, emotionally. But there's also the practical piece, which is you've got to be alive for that long. You've got to be healthy enough and vibrant enough. And so I guess my question is, how do you maintain your vibrancy, your life? What are your health tips, just practical health tips?
For a few years, I was not fortunate enough to feel healthy. I had health problems. And I told myself, if I have time to feel unhealthy, I better get on track. That's when I decided to do tennis and Pilates. And I started out not in Pilates, I started out with stronger exercises. And I dropped notches. Right. But I saw that being outside your frame and making your body stronger than it is, you're going to gain from it.
I love that answer. And I remember being in a Pilates class. We would be in the same Pilates class with the same instructor. And I would say, if Leona can do it, I better do it. I remember that how I would motivate myself. But, going back also, if we think about it, what would you say are some of the reasons why so many marriages are failing today? And what can be done differently to help that? There's no perfect answer. There's no one answer, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think my answer is try giving the benefit of the doubt. Today's world, I think people are, this is too hard. It's not worth it. It's selfishness. Try being less selfish. Try looking and saying, look how lucky I am. I'm in a bad place right now, but look what I have. Don't look at what I don't have. In today's world, with all the things that are available to you, to lose yourself away from what you have and look for new directions. Have more respect for yourself.
That's great. So you're saying count your blessings, look at what you have and not what you don't have, which is really hard in society today. And what was the last thing you said again?
I think look at what you have and not what you don't have.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that appreciate.
Yeah.
Appreciate your health. Appreciate your situation. Appreciate, if you're blessed, your children, your husband. Don't look at all the stuff that I want, I don't have, and don't lose patience.
Yeah, these are really two very important pieces. Don't look at what you don't have and whine about that. And the other piece is the patience piece. Can you delve a little bit more on that?
It's easy if you're not feeling so good to want to be alone, want to go away from where you're at, and it's not going to do anything beneficial. It's not going to change the thing you're walking away from.
I see.
Be smart enough to stay and fight it out.
I love that. So it really boils down to commitment at the end of the day, which is another thing our society is struggling with.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I think we have one final question. You have everyone's attention. You know, you have the floor. What would you say are your greatest words of wisdom about marriage and life in general? If you had to sum it up in a couple of mantras or sentences, let's leave everyone with some closing remarks.
Make your own luck. And when I say that, I mean create the environment. It's yours to create. You want to be around, you want people to be around someone who they want to be around, then be that person. And give yourself the tap on the shoulder that, look how lucky you are. People, you're in an environment where you can be with people. You're not in a world alone. And look at the positive things you have. There are classes to go to. There are environments to be in. There's if you're healthy and you don't have to waste your time taking care of yourself to get yourself healthy, then respect it, honor it.
Yeah, honor that time and take advantage of that time.
Yeah, I'm a very lucky woman. I am, and I know I am.
It's true. Well, Leona, thank you so much for your time. We are so grateful that you gave some of your time to us to share your wisdom. If you want to learn more about Leona, you can check out the article on Aish.com entitled Advice from a Woman Married 67 Years. Follow, like, and subscribe to Aish.com for more content. Thank you again. See you next time.